Welcome back to the South Stands, a Buckeye football podcast by Ohio State fans, for Ohio State fans from the West Coast. I'm your host, Zach Moore. Today is Thursday, August 29th, 2024, and I'm very happy to be joined once again by fellow South Stands contributor Paige Van Horn from Denver. PBH, how's it going, my friend?
Dude, I mean, like you said before we hopped on here, it's game week, so you got to have a smile on your face, right?
Oh, it's Christmas in August, man. I love it. We are also joined by fellow contributor Chad Plummer from Cleveland. CP, what's the word from the 216, my friend?
Hey, guys, what's up? I've just been trying to contain myself, like my emotions and just everything else, like for the last week and a half, 2 weeks, right since we did the last pod.
Yeah.
And it's here, baby. Like it's college football, man.
It's game
time
week.
Of the year.
Yeah, that's right. It is game week, fellas. The long-awaited, highly anticipated 135th season of Ohio State University football is finally upon us. And, of course, we are here today to preview the Buckeyes season opener against the Akron Zips on Saturday. We're also going to preview a handful of other games that are of national interest and give our predictions. So let's dive right into it, fellas. This Saturday, the Akron University Zips of the Mid-American Conference invade the Horseshoe to open the 2024 season for both schools. The game is a 3:30 p.m. Eastern kick on CBS.
Yay.
PBH, you got to love that. The line has actually come down slightly to Ohio State minus 48.5. The over-under is 58.5. Now, the Buckeyes are 8-1 all-time against the Zips. That includes a 59-7 bludgeoning back in 2021. The Zips' lone win in this series was a 12-6 barn burner back in 1894. According to Phil Steele, the Zips returned 9 starters, 3 on offense, 6 on defense from a squad that finished 2-10 and in 5th place in the MAC East last season. Now, last season, Akron was utterly dreadful on offense. They finished 129th nationally in total offense, but they were pretty respectable on defense, 32nd nationally in total defense, and it was really that unit that kept the Zips in a lot of those games last year, but they just couldn't finish. The Zips lost 5 games by just 1 score in 2023, including 3 in overtime. And of course, this year, Akron is projected to be one of the worst teams in the FBS. Phil Steele has them ranked 125th in his preseason power poll. Athlon has the Zips ranked 130 in their rankings, and Lindy's has them at 131. So as a reminder, boys, there are 134 teams in the FBS. So only a small handful of other programs are expected to be worse than Akron this season. Few tidbits about Akron, and I want to go around and get some thoughts from each of you about this game. The Zips are led by head coach Joe Moorhead, which is a name many Ohio State fans will remember because as an offensive coordinator, Moorhead actually owns 2 wins over the Buckeyes in his career. Moorhead was the OC for James Franklin back in 2016 when Penn State upset the Buckeyes in Happy Valley that season. And he held the same title at Oregon in 2021 when the Ducks came into the Horseshoe and beat the Buckeyes in week 2 of that season. And that's a memory, I'm sure, that is still pretty fresh for the two of you. You were at that game. Now, Moorhead is...
What are you talking about?
Now, Moorhead...
Actually, Chad wasn't at that game
because
right. He was meandering around the parking lot.
Paige made me go back there.
Rough day. Now, Moorhead's going to have a new signal caller in Cal transfer Ben Finley. Finley also spent 3 seasons at NC State before transferring to Cal last year. At 6'3", 200 pounds, Finley's a career backup with only 246 pass attempts, a 58% completion percentage, 7 career touchdown passes, and 9 interceptions. It's going to be a long day, I think, boys, for Finley on Saturday afternoon. On defense, junior cornerback Darian Lewis is a player to watch for the Zips. Lewis was their top-graded defender a year ago, according to PFF, with an overall grade of 80.9. Senior defensive end CJ Nunley is another player to watch. Nunley led the Zips in sacks last season with 7 and pressures with 39. Okay, guys, look, I think we can all agree this is going to be a bloodbath that isn't going to require a ton of searing analysis here today. So, CP, I want to start with you. Why don't you give me a couple of thoughts on this game?
Well, I'm just obviously we know it's going to be a bludgeoning, but I'm just excited to see this team come out. We get this new quarterback. We got Quinshon Judkins, running backs. It's just, Judkins. Smith is going to be. I just want us to see. I want to see us come out and like just like hitting on all cylinders.
Yes.
You know, like just I don't want to like any bullshit. Like, you know what, I want us to come out like that we're supposed to come out and look like that. Wow, this is the team that I've been waiting to see. Just come out like just, you know, and I'm anxious to see some of the younger players as well. You know, like Julian saying, like I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but like there's like, you know, younger guys on defense, like they, you know, some younger offensive linemen.
Yeah.
I'm anxious to see it all because like they're not going to play more than the first half. There's just like there's no sense. Like why?
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see this team, man, come out of the gate.
Oh yeah, me too. I'm right there with you. PVH, I'm gonna kick this over to you. Give me a couple thoughts on this game.
I mean, I think the funnest thing, honestly, is going to be Jeremiah Smith. I want to see that kid in real live action.
Amen. Yes.
And that's going to be sort of the fun part. I think if there's anything, you know, that you could watch maybe closely, it's like Howard, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, just I think, you know, maybe just passing, right? They need to play it smart, right? You don't want to show too much. They probably have, you know, somewhat of a limitation of, you know, plays that Kelly's probably drawn up for him. But I think, you know, Howard just, you know, throwing to guys that are probably going to be, you know, wide open by 5 yards. Just can you make those passes? Mm-hmm. But to me, the funnest part is like, man, that hype train on Smith, I just can't wait to see it.
Oh, yeah. I'm with you. For me, this game is all about the newcomers. Jeremiah Smith, Caleb Downs, Quinshon Judkins, and Will Howard specifically. Oh. It's like playing with your new toys on Christmas morning, right? You know? And I know it's only Akron, but I'm just going to enjoy the novelty of seeing all those players wearing the scarlet and gray for the first time. And Jeremiah Smith, I agree with you guys. He's one of those newcomers that I'm going to be locked in on. And beyond that, I want to see, and you touched on this, CP, I want to see the Buckeyes play to their standard and not to the competition. It's actually been a while since we've seen Ohio State really kind of shoot out of the gates to start the season. I mean, you think about it, the Buckeyes only put up 23 points in the season opener against IU last year. I was actually at that game. Only 21 points in the season opener against Notre Dame back in 2022. Now, granted, those are much tougher opponents than Akron, but if you look at Ohio State's week 2 games in each of the last 2 seasons, they fucking lollygagged against Youngstown State last year. They dicked around for a couple quarters against Arkansas State back in 2022. And if you even go back further than that, in 2021, they were in a shootout with Minnesota in that season opener. I mean, that was a 7-point game with less than 5 minutes to play before the Buckeyes sealed it with a late touchdown pass from Stroud to Olave. Then the following week, we've already referenced it, was the embarrassing loss at home to Oregon. So, guys, it's been a minute since we've seen Ohio State shoot out of the gates and really just kind of grab the season by the throat. And that's what I want to see. I want to see Ohio State do what a national title contender should do to opponents like Akron and Western Michigan next week and Marshall on September the 21st. Finish them off early, have that first unit on the bench by the third quarter. And, you know, none of these games starting Saturday should engender a single shred of doubt about the Buckeyes. Leave no doubt. CP, I'm going to kick this back to you. Got any other thoughts?
Well, I'll tell you what, by many, analysts and syndicates across the country, this is supposed to be one of, and us, the South stands, could be one of the best defenses that Ohio State will put on the field
ever
in our lifetime.
Yep.
So that's kind of going, with everything else. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see Akron getting a 30-yard play down field. I mean, it's gonna it may happen, but it better not happen till the second half. You know what I mean?
I agree. No cheapies.
I want to see the 3 and outs. Let's just go and and then that's what I want to see, man.
I'm with you.
Bold, get in the trenches on the defensive line. Just stop. I want the zips, dude. Come on.
Yeah.
120. Let's just stuff them out. Get out.
So by syndicate, do you mean Kirk Herbstreit? Because he doesn't really think that this is that much more of a talented Ohio State team.
Yeah, what's up his butt? Yeah, he has a bug up his ass. Herbstreit does this week
Kirby,
about Ohio State. I saw those remarks. that.
Oh, like from the game in like Ireland, oh, hey, Herb Street, you fucked us, like all the Florida State fans feel like.
Yeah.
Well, no, he went
big...
on Pat McAfee and he was just like, yeah, I don't understand it. He like called Quinn Junkins like
A second teamer or a reserve. Yeah, backup or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. The other thing, like, I don't know if we're gonna. Well, we'll do predictions, but as far as that line goes, right? Like always, the challenge when they're just playing an overmatched team is how long are the starters going to be in there,
Right?
And then they give up a cheapie on defense, which they kind of tend to do, sort of towards the end of the game. But I just think this team is so freaking bloody good, like. I mean, clearly there's a drop off with the second teamers, but I don't think there's going to be that much of a second teamer. It's almost, like Herbstreit. Like if you think Junkins is a second teamer, like,
what the fuck,
man? I'll take those second teamers every day of the week.
I mean, like, most people think like, well, from what I'm reading, like he's going to like get more touches than like Trey.
Yeah, he's a bell cow. He's more durable than Trey. He's a bell cow. He's a 2-time first team All SEC player. I can only assume that Herbstreit misspoke, because there's no way that you could refer to that Junkins could ever be confused with a reserve. Yeah, he has a bug up his butt about Ohio State, and I think his main point is Ohio State never has a shortage of talent, and they haven't been able to achieve their goals the last couple of years. And I think he's also last week he's picking Oregon to win the national championship. I think that's his pick.
They all did.
Yeah. Well, we'll see about that. ESPN no longer has the rights to Big Ten games, so you often wonder, with these, there are affiliations now that networks have, and you wonder how much of that affects the prognostications of these guys. I think there's a real opportunity for Ryan Day over the next month to build some quality depth for a deep playoff run and also get his reserves ready for bigger roles in 2025. So I want to see a lot of reps for Ohio State reserves in these first 3 games starting Saturday. I'll be disappointed if any Buckeye starters are in the game beyond the first couple possessions of the third quarter on Saturday. I mean, it's going to be a long season, guys. I mean, with the expanded playoff, Ohio State could play upwards of 17 games, and you never know when you'll need to call on a reserve in a big moment. So Ryan Day, start getting those reserves ready now with a lot of live game reps over these next few weeks. And of course, the other benefit is limiting the wear and tear on the first team offense and defense through the first month of the season. As we know, injuries have been a major factor for the Buckeyes the last 2 seasons, 2022 in particular, but also last year. So look, don't play JT Tuimoloau, Jack Sawyer, and Tyleik Williams 600 fucking snaps this year like he did last year. There's no reason for that. So that to me is going to be the measure of success. We often say, what are we going to learn from a game like Akron or Western Michigan? I think the measure of success is you put these opponents away after the first quarter, midway through the first half, have your starters on the bench by the start of the third quarter, and get a lot of reps for your reserves. That, to me, is the measure of success here at this stage of the season. CP, go ahead.
Oh, no, I mean, like, I'm with you. Like, I want to, like, just make sure, like, but I also don't, like, want to, like, I want these guys to get in there and get some action, grind it out for, like, first couple quarters. And then, like, there's no reason for you to be in there. But, like, I mean, there is something to be said for, like, getting yourself, like, adjusted to actual game, conditions, like, and reflection. But, like, I feel like today has tendencies to keep these guys in longer than they need to be. And, and like, let's get them in. Let's see what this team's all about, like, real quick. It's hard to measure against the Zips, but let these guys get in there and be like, yeah, we are the shit, and then get them out. And there's, like, so many young players, like in like the linebacker. Like I can't wait to see like that Reese kid, like that linebacker. He's
Arvell Reese.
Like, yes. They say he's a beast.
Yeah, and our last pod when we were
Gabe Powers, they say he's going to be back in that. So I want to see all that. I want to see. I can't wait to see CJ Hicks. I can't wait to see Sonny Styles. Like we finally, and I mentioned this in the last podcast. We finally have some real linebackers.
So that is one position group I'm going to be watching carefully as well, because Arvell Reese is a name that kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, he was a defensive end last year. Yeah. And they say he is poised to step in and be the next middle linebacker, the great Mike linebacker here at this program. And that came out of nowhere. I was not expecting to hear Reese's name. And they have a new position coach, right? Laurinaitis is the full-time position coach for the linebackers. So it'll be interesting to see if he rotates more guys in. That's one position I'll be watching. And then the run game. Right, we've been talking all season about this, what we think will be a new look run game under Chip Kelly. you've got the combo of Henderson and Judkins back there, and then a running quarterback in Will Howard who can do some serious damage with his legs. So that's another thing I'll be watching as well. One of my predictions for this game, Ohio State over 350 yards rushing on the ground. That's my bold prediction for the run game.
Oh, that's a good call.
PVH,
what does that pay? We gotta look that up.
PVH, what else you got on this game?
No, I mean, I think we touched on it, right? I mean, come on, it's a scrimmage. It's just going to be fun, right? Football's back. Echo everything that you guys said. Excited to see certain players. Caleb Downs, for sure. Defense, linebackers. But yeah, I mean, and the other thing is just kind of perusing. I do think it's interesting that, Ohio State is right behind Georgia in the odds to win a national championship. Right, which totally sort of discredits the AP poll, right, where they're like, yeah, Georgia's a prohibitive favorite. Like, no, they're really not. This is, those are the two clear front runners, at least as far as Vegas is viewing it right now. But then Oregon is the third betting favorite.
They're right there.
Quite a bit back from the Buckeyes, but they're sitting there at number 3. So, yeah, I mean, dude, just excited for the first game of the season.
The march begins, right? This is it. What we think is going to be a long journey. It starts on Saturday. I cannot wait. I am so excited. So, all right, fellas, we're going to keep the concernometer on the shelf for this game. So let's jump right into our score predictions. Then I want to start looking at some of these other games. I mean, unless you guys have anything else you want to say about this game, I thought we can jump into score predictions. Are we good with that?
No, last thing is I'm doing something I haven't done in probably 5 years, is heading downtown to the Ohio State bar with my good buddy Johnny Cohen at Haters.
JC Johnny Cohen.
Johnny Cohen. I tried to get Kramer to show up, but he's rocking out at some music festival somewhere. But it'll be fun.
What about Juan? Is Juan coming?
No, he's like Beaver Creek. Yeah.
Whatever.
Whatever.
All right, boys. Let's head into some score predictions. CP, I want to start with you. Give us a score prediction for this game.
Well, I think they're going to 100% cover the 48.5. So I'm going to go 6 for the Zips, and then I'm going to go 57.
57-6 Buckeyes. I love it. Okay, PBH.
So that's funny. I wrote down 59, just that the Buckeyes can cover on their own, and then 7. But I don't think they're going to get 7. They'll probably end up kicking 2 field goals. So I'm going the price is right, 59-6.
59-6.
What's up, 596?
There's something about the 50s. We're all right around in the same range. I got Ohio State 56 zip. Pun intended.
Wow,
56
dude,
zip.
That would be... Goose egg would be delightful.
Akron is one of the worst teams in the FBS, and it seems there is a sense of urgency and purpose within the program that I'm not sure we've seen previously under Ryan Day. So the combination of those two things, Buckeyes win big. And like I said, I'm predicting in the neighborhood of 350 yards rushing for the Buckeyes in this game.
Was that like 4 years ago? Like, I mean, time's going so fast, it freaks me out. But like, wasn't one of the Bowden brothers like the coach of the Zips? Like,
Terry Bowden. That's a good call out. He was, right? He
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Now they're like ranked 125th.
And look, Joe Moorhead isn't chopped liver. I mean, this guy, he was the head coach, I think, at Mississippi State. He went from being a very successful offensive coordinator at Penn State, and that he turned that into a head coaching job at Mississippi State. Didn't work out. Went to Oregon as an OC, and now at Akron as a head coach. I mean, he's not chopped liver. If you can get some players there, maybe he can actually make them competitive. All right, fellas, the rest of the slate this weekend ain't half bad for an opening weekend. CP, you and I were talking about this before we jumped on.
I'm so excited for this weekend.
There are a bunch of really good games that should be highly entertaining, and including 2 of them before the Buckeyes play. Nice little appetizers before Ohio State kicks off. So let's start with number 1 Georgia against number 14 Clemson. This is in the Aflac kickoff in Atlanta. There you go. I was waiting for that one. The game is a noon Eastern kick on ABC. The line is Georgia minus 13.5. The over-under is 48.5. Now, these two programs had top 10 defenses a year ago. They should be very good on that side of the ball again this season. Clemson returns 14 starters, including quarterback Cade Klubnik from a squad that went 9-4 last season. Georgia also returns 14 starters, including quarterback Carson Beck from a squad that went 13-1 and narrowly missed the playoffs a year ago. The Bulldogs' only loss, as we remember, was to Bama in the SEC title game. CP, who do you like in this game?
Well, I mean, you guys know how I feel about Dabo, so. But didn't ETN? He's playing for the Dogs now, but I don't think he's playing this weekend, right?
So when ETN's older brother played at Clemson, his younger brother played at Florida, and that's right, transferred. That's right. He's playing for Georgia now. You're right. I forgot about that.
So, yeah, I mean, where's that game at? See,
it's in Atlanta, technically a neutral field in air quotes, but it's right. It's an hour from the Georgia campus, I think.
13.5. Oof. You know what? Something like, I mean, I hate Dabo, but I think Clemson's going to cover that game, man.
So you think they cover, but you like Georgia to win?
Yeah, I like Georgia to win, but I would say probably 27-20.
Okay. All right. PBH, how about you? Who do you like in this game?
Yeah. It's a juicy game, no doubt about it. But Clemson, right? Who's it? Clubber Lang is his quarterback. It's like, you know what? You're not that good anymore, Dabo, if you don't have, Lawrence
Deshaun Watson, right?
Or Deshaun Watson as quarterbacks. Yeah. And I think, just he's still digging in his heels about the portal.
Yeah.
And he's not playing, 2024, football by the rules that are set up. I think Georgia's going to kick the shit out of them. It's actually, of the games we're going to cover, this is the only other one where I feel like I have a strong opinion. I'm going to lay some action on Georgia. And
okay.
I think they win this, pretty convincingly.
Damn, now you got me rethinking my pick. Because that's a pretty good call out there.
Just the opposite Tuesday.
That's a pretty good call out. My original
bitches.
I'm going to stick with my original pick. I think it'll be a 4-quarter game, but I like Georgia to win, and I do actually think they'll cover. But maybe late touchdown. They kind of control the game. It's close, 4 quarters, but Georgia pulls away in the 4th quarter. But man, you got me thinking. I could see Georgia just boat racing them.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to number 8, Penn State at unranked West Virginia. This game is also a noon Eastern kick on Fox. The line is Penn State minus 8. The over-under is 51.5. Now, according to Phil Steele, Penn State returns 13 starters, including quarterback Drew Aller and running backs Nick Singleton and Katron Allen from a squad that went 10-3 last season. We previewed Penn State a couple, 6 weeks ago. Former Buckeye receiver Julian Fleming is now on that roster for Penn State. And West Virginia also returns 13 starters, including their quarterback Garrett Green from a squad that went 9-4 a year ago. These two teams opened the season against one another in Happy Valley last year. Penn State won it 38-15. CP, who do you like in this game?
Well, I'll tell you what, man. This is a crazy opening game for Penn State. Because Penn State, everyone has Penn State making the 12-team playoff, and if it would have been 12-team, they would have probably made it the last couple of years. That's what everybody's talking about. But you going into Morgantown, man, that coach up there,
that's an atmosphere.
He knows what's and that that place is a crazy place to play. You're talking about a noon kickoff. Those people in Morgantown are just going to be just raging. And I'm telling you what, man. I think Penn State's going to win the game, but West Virginia will cover. What is it, 8.5 or something like that?
8. Yeah, the last time I checked it was 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the Mountaineers will cover.
You're bullish on the Mountaineers. I think you picked them to win the Big 12, right? Or I think you said don't sleep on them for the Big.
I said don't sleep on it, because there's a lot of
Okay.
But I think that's a crazy opener for Penn State. I'll tell you, man.
Yeah, that'll be a great atmosphere. PVH, who you like in this game?
Oh.
Well, it's funny because I was racking my brain, where did I read something about West Virginia? But apparently it was Chad on the pod. So now that I have to rethink my whole premise. Like, I don't know that West Virginia, but I actually do. I think, and it's weird, right? Like, number 8, and they're only an 8-point favorite. Like, this game kind of smells like a trap game, right? Like, we would sort of back the truck up for Penn State. And so I'm with Mr. Plummer here on this one. I'm going to roll with the Mountaineers. Maybe even an upset, but I don't think Penn State covers the 8.
Okay, I'm right with you guys. I like Penn State in a close one. I don't think they cover those 8 points. Should be a good game. Come down to the last couple of minutes of the fourth quarter. All right, let's move on to the evening slate, starting with number 7, Notre Dame at number 20, Texas A&M. The line is A&M -3. The over-under is 46.5. Notre Dame returns 15 starters from a squad that went 10-3 last season, and they added Duke transfer Riley Leonard at quarterback during the offseason. Now, Leonard's going to be facing his former head coach, Mike Elko. He's the new head coach at A&M. Leonard was Elko's quarterback last year at Duke. The Aggies returned 18 starters from an underachieving squad that went 7-6 last year. All that talent, it's amazing. It's unbelievable that they went 7-6. But they also did very well for themselves in the portal, actually, by the way, the Aggies did. They brought in 28 kids through the portal, including a stud defensive end, Nick Scorton from Purdue. A&M finished 4th in the 24/7 Sports transfer rankings. And I like Elko. I think he's a hell of a coach. This should be a hell of a game. Notre Dame's going to be very good on defense. They always are under Marcus Freeman. I think they'll get more playmaking from Riley Leonard this year than they did from Sam Hartman a year ago. CP, who do you like in this game?
Well, if Riley Leonard could stay healthy, I mean, that kid's kind of like injury prone, but that is an interesting matchup with like he and his coach from last year.
Yeah.
But it was it's time. They waited 2 years too long for Jimbo Fisher to be in Texas A&M. Yep. I mean, for the money they were throwing out,
my God,
even before NIL, there's like briefcases, like shit, under the table, and they didn't do shit. Cause they said that whole program underneath that Duke coach, it's just a complete different, night and day.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I hate to do this, I hate Notre Dame. I like Marcus Freeman. I mean, Notre Dame really, they've been in the college playoff a couple times, but they haven't been relevant since '91. Texas A&M beats them.
You like
A&M? They beat them straight up. Yep.
Okay.
The Aggies take them straight up at College Station.
Okay, I like it. PVH?
Yeah, I mean, Texas A&M is 1A on the insufferable list, right behind Clemson. Everything about that program just makes me want to freaking barf. So, I mean, and you got Freeman at Notre Dame, and I think -3, that's a kind of a head scratcher line to me as well, right? I mean, you have the number 7 team, so it kind of screams trap for me. But no, I'm rolling with Notre Dame, and they'll win the game outright and definitely cover.
Okay.
Oh, I like it.
A&M has been kind of like the ultimate, this is why we can't have nice things program. Yeah. They bring in Fisher. Remember that recruiting class they had a couple years ago, right?
Yeah.
That number 1 recruiting class. And Paige, I even think you said at the time, they'll fuck it up. And they are that. I mean, it must be very frustrating to be an A&M fan. But I think Elko could turn things around there. I think he's a good coach. The Aggies, look, I mean, Elko had Notre Dame on the ropes last year when they played Duke. And now he's working with a lot more talent at A&M. The Aggies are number 7 in the 24/7 team talent composite. Notre Dame is 10th, so pretty good matchup in that regard. This game is in College Station. I'm picking the Aggies to win it, and the line looks about right to me. A&M by a field goal. That sounds right. I think A&M gets it done by a field goal in a very entertaining football game. All right. Let's move on to the next night game. Unranked Fresno State at number 9 Michigan in the Big House. The line is Michigan -20.5. The over-under is 58.5. As we've already documented on this podcast, Michigan now barely resembles the team that went 15-0 last year and won the national championship. And Jim Harbaugh's gone. New head coach Sharon Moore has only 1 returning starter on offense. Now, and the reports just last week out of Ann Arbor are that the quarterback situation is still not settled. Moore said last week the redshirt sophomore Alex Orji, who has been the presumed starter all along, has not yet separated from walk-on Davis Warren. Now, we think they'll still be very good on defense, of course, with Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, Will Johnson. Now, Fresno State, on the other hand, they're believed to be one of the better teams in the group of 5, though they did just lose their head coach, Jeff Tedford, who had to suddenly retire in July due to some health concerns. I think he's got a bad heart. The Bulldogs returned 13 starters from a team that went 9-4 last year. They have a pretty good quarterback in Mikey Keene, who threw for just under 3,000 yards and 24 touchdowns last year. CP, who do you like in this game?
Mikey Keene, the dream. I don't know, man. Like, Michigan's like their defense is still pretty solid, right?
Yeah.
Like they lost some like offensive linemen and
Their whole
whatnot. And
offensive
who
line,
knows?
yeah.
Like you mentioned, like the quarterback thing. Like I don't even think they even know who's gonna like I think they might be even considering running the 2 quarterback
They might.
offense.
Yeah.
But I'd love to say Fresno State, but I think Michigan just waxes them. Like I think this game will be over before it starts.
Wow. Okay.
I'd love to see something else, but I think that's what happened. Now everybody was on that hype, thinking, oh, well, they are pretty good, So I love it. I hope they blow Fresno State out, man. I hope they do. I hope they come out looking strong.
So you don't think any look ahead potential with Texas looming next week and
No, I don't.
Okay. All right. PBH, how about you? How do you see this game?
Yeah, man, it just makes you shake your head that, like, dude, you're Michigan and you have a quarterback, competition with a walk-on? Like, how is that even possible?
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
And so I everything, I kind of agree with Chad. Like, I think Michigan will get this done. But the fact that, they can't name a starter, and that's fine. Like, we can't name a starter because, there was a competition, right? Because we had a transfer who's really, really great, and he's competing against 5 stars, right? That are freshmen, right? And we knew they weren't going to play, but is the cupboard really that bare at Michigan? And then it just makes kind of chaps my ass. They somehow pulled it off last year, but it's just hilarious to me that you have a quarterback competition with a walk-on. But they probably get it done night game. 21 might be. Yeah, I'd say, yeah, I don't know. Do they cover that? Probably, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, it's probably not going to be a
They have a good defense too, right? That's the one thing that everybody says.
Yeah, a lot of good returning talent on defense. Yeah. Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, probably the best defensive tackle duo in the country. Will Johnson, arguably the best corner in the country. They have some other players. Josiah Stewart, really good edge rusher. He was a reserve last year, but played quite a lot, was very productive. He'll be a starter this year. Jayshawn Barham is a very good linebacker that transferred in from Maryland, who they're raving about. So they'll be very good on defense. But look, it's probably not going to be a Mona Lisa on offense for Michigan in this game. I mean, not when you haven't been able to decide on a quarterback. You're replacing all 5 starters on the offensive line. You're replacing all of your receivers. And, by the way, Blake Corum's gone. So I would be very shocked if Michigan rolls offensively in this game against a team that has a pulse. This Fresno State team I don't think it's chopped liver. All of that said, it is a little tempting to pick maybe not an upset, but perhaps a close call for Michigan in this game. I don't think that would be completely out of the realm of possibility. But I'm with you guys. The Michigan defense, just too good. I don't think they allow any funny business in this game. I think Michigan wins ugly. I don't think they cover the 20.5. But I think it's more like 14, 17 points they pull away in the fourth quarter, and they kind of grind down.
Yeah,
Fresno
you're probably
State.
right that they win it, but they don't cover.
Yeah,
that makes sense to me.
And they don't care about stuff like that. Michigan always kind of wins. Just they're happy to grind you out, right, and use all 4 quarters if that's what it takes. It is interesting though that the notice of allegations from the NCAA has finally landed in Ann Arbor, and the bill may come due for what happened. You have to wonder, how much of a distraction that could potentially be for Michigan this offseason. We'll see. Okay, one last game I want to look at, fellas. Sunday night, and this is a Big Ten SEC clash. Number 23 USC at number 13 LSU in the Modelo Vegas Kickoff Classic. The game is a 7:30 p.m. Eastern kick on ABC. The line is LSU -4. The over-under is 64.5. Vegas thinks it's going to be close. Vegas thinks it's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. Now, these were two very explosive offensive teams last season. LSU led the country in total offense. USC finished 10th nationally in that statistic. But they were also two of the worst defensive teams in the country. LSU finished 108th nationally in total defense. USC was 119th in total defense. Now, funny enough, both of these teams are replacing Heisman-winning quarterbacks that were the first two players taken in the NFL draft in April. SC's Caleb Williams, he was the 2022 Heisman winner, was taken number 1 overall by the Bears. And LSU's Jaden Daniels, last year's Heisman winner, was taken number 2 overall by the Commanders. Now, Williams and Daniels both set out the bowl game last year for their teams, but their replacements exploded in those games. Miller Moss threw for 372 yards and 6 touchdowns in USC's win over Louisville. Garrett Nussmeier threw for 395 yards and 3 touchdowns in LSU's win over Wisconsin in their bowl game. USC returns 14 starters, including Moss, from a squad that went 8-5 last season. LSU returns 12 starters, including Nussmeier, from a team that went 10-3. Brian Kelly and Lincoln Riley both brought in new defensive coordinators to fix those dreadful defenses from a year ago. I think both of these teams could potentially be, and probably should be, factors in the playoff race if they can get their defenses fixed. I mean, fucking come on. We're talking about LSU and USC, the 8 national championships between those two programs. I mean, they're both sleeping giants, so we'll see if one of them can emerge and be like a real factor in the playoff race. USC most especially, they are a sleeping giant. I mean, come on. Lincoln Riley, get your shit together. CP, who do you like in this game?
Well, hold on. Where's the game? Is it
it's in Vegas.
Or is it?
It's neutral field in Vegas, yeah.
Got it.
Is it like, are they playing at the Raiders Stadium?
Yes.
That place is sick.
Yeah.
I saw UNLV play there, but regardless, I think that's kind of like that's like a toss-up. It'd be a big win for each program. I mean, I think LSU's kind of in the same position that Michigan is. Like, I don't know that they really, after losing Jaden Daniels, I think they're kind of like a crossroads. Like, I don't know who's going to be our starting
That
quarterback.
Nussmeier is a good player. Actually, he's a high 4-star or a low 5-star. He can chuck it. He's a good player.
Yeah, right. I mean, but like they've been going back and forth. Like, everything I'm hearing. Like, we're not quite sure. We're not ready. But
Oh, okay.
That's a toss-up game, though. Like, that's a flip of the coin.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lean towards Brian Kelly and the Tigers.
Okay.
I hate to do that. The USC's in the Big Ten, but I just don't have any faith in Lincoln Riley. And I know he brought in the new DC, but like, man, like we could go back years to Oklahoma. I don't know, man. Like,
that's fair. That's totally fair.
Yeah,
you want to see him do it.
I'll leave it at that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. PBH, how about you? Who do you like in this game?
So it's funny, like, it's kind of, I mean, I don't know as far as I would go hot seat, but this is a warm seat game for both these guys, right?
Yeah.
Like the luster, especially for Riley, is off at USC, although they're not as fanatical, right? As a fan base, probably as like Buckeyes or LSU, but both of these guys need to win this game. I think Riley needs to win it more.
I agree.
If it were at LSU, I mean, obviously the line would be more. I would be much more inclined to take them. No, but I think, the fact that he got rid of Grinch, right? It can only get better. I mean, it can't possible to get any worse.
Right. From 119th.
And again, I wrote it down as you said that. I'm just like, this cannot stand. You cannot be 108th or 119th. I mean, that means like Kansas had better defenses, or Colorado, or Indiana had better defenses than both of those teams last year. How is that effing possible? I still don't understand how that happens in college football. Maybe one day I'll figure it out, or somebody can explain it to me. But it'd be a fun game to watch for sure. But I like USC plus the fact. Come on, man, they're they're in the Big Ten now. So totally going to root for the Big Ten.
I like it.
I like USC to win it outright.
All right. I like it, PBH.
This aggression will not stand, man.
Will not stand, man.
Yeah, I mean, roster-wise, these two teams stack up pretty well. LSU is 9th in the 24/7 Sports Team Talent Composite. SE is 15th. The game is in Vegas, so geographically, I think there is a slight edge for USC. I am with you guys. This game could go either way. But, hey, I'm picking USC, our Big Ten brethren now, in a shootout that comes down to the final minute. It's a great way to kind of cap off what I think is going to be a really fun weekend on Sunday night. All right, fellas, listen, that's a great effort. Why don't we wrap things there? Thanks so much for making the time tonight. For our listeners, check your feeds for a recap of the Akron game from yours truly on Sunday afternoon. Until then, thanks so much for listening, and go Bucks. You've been listening to the South Stands, a Buckeye football podcast. Follow us on X at South_Stands.